Well, let me say good evening and welcome. And I appreciate all of you for taking time out of your schedule to connect with us on tonight as we hear from mayor and council. It's so important to be certainly informed as we make our way to the polls. And y'all, that's what tonight is all about. This is a meet and greet, of course, so that you may get to know not only those who are currently sitting in office, but those who are going to be running for office. I want to make sure that you can connect with them as they connect with you on tonight. Now, I do understand that tonight primarily, of course, essentially is virtual, but we are going to have an opportunity where we're going to be able to interact via questions and that kind of thing. And so I encourage you in the chat area to certainly submit your questions, right? Questions that you might have, submit them in the chat area, and we'll make sure that those who are running for office are informed of those questions, okay? So we want you to certainly take an opportunity to do that. Now, of course, we're going to move as swiftly as we can, but certainly want to be thorough in what we do, okay? Going to move quickly, but want to be thorough in what we do. So first, please permit me to invite God's presence into our time together on tonight, for I do want him to bless our time together. Let's pray together. Lord, thank you so much for your grace and mercy, your keeping power, and your sustaining hand. Lord, I thank you for tonight. God, I thank you for what it means for our city, what it means for our community. I thank you for these individuals who are currently in office, those who will be running for office. And God, as we come together to share and to connect, God, I pray that you would be in the midst. I pray that you would be glorified in all that is said and in all that is done. It's in the name of your Son that we do pray and we ask it all. Let everybody say amen, amen, amen. All right. Well, tonight we have with us those who are running for office of mayor and those who are running for the office or a seat on our city council. Now, I'm going to take an opportunity, of course, to quickly introduce them to you, but they're going to introduce themselves to you a little bit more formally, all right? So, running for mayor, candidates that we have are Kurt Wilson and Jason Yowell, running against, of course, the incumbent, Lori Henry. And so we're going to be hearing from them in just a moment. Let me take this opportunity real quick to share with you that there are 3 posts in our city council in which individuals will be running for. Post 4, Post 5, and Post 6. In Post 4, we have Peter Vanstrom, who is running against incumbent Marie Willsey, okay? And then in Post 5, which was left vacant by Matt Tizer, running for that post is Michael Del Cerro, Yalonda Freeman, and Will Morthland. We'll hear from them in just a moment. And then in Post 6, we have Lee Hills running against our incumbent, Matt Judy. And y'all, I'm looking forward to this interaction, this time in which they're going to begin to introduce themselves to you. So without further ado, starting with our incumbent on the mayor ticket, docket, we're going to ask that Lori Henry will introduce herself and talk to you just a little bit about her platform and what she stands for. All right? Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Strickland. And thank you all to the Pleasant Hill Baptist Church family for having us here this evening. My name is Lori Henry. I am your mayor. I have been your mayor for almost 4 years now, and I look forward to being your mayor for the next 4 years. And what I'd like to talk a little bit about tonight is what we have done over the last 4 years and what I expect to accomplish over the next 4 years. I think you all know, or you might be very well aware, that Pastor Strickland and I had a serendipitous moment about 3 years ago during the Roots Festival when it became apparent that Doc's Cafe was going to be torn down and making room for a new road project. Well, we were able to save Doc's Cafe, and let me just say this. Doc's Cafe is a very, very important part of our history. Pastor Strickland had explained to me that day that while the African American community did not have large and glorious homes, they did have a rich history, and that was in Doc's Cafe. It was the only place an African American could go eat or dance, listen to the jukebox, and eat sliders and drink Cokes. So I am committed. The current mayor and city council have committed to preserving Doc's Cafe. We've got it tucked away in a safe place right now. And as soon as we can get the site pad ready, we will be moving Doc's Cafe there. We are also in the process of looking for funding. But I will tell you, and I will warn you, that we're going to be coming to you because we will need the community to pitch in and help, because we want Doc's Cafe not only to be a showcase in our African American community, Groveway community, Pleasant Hill, but we also want it to be a part of our history. Because in the city of Roswell, I will tell you, we have not been very good about telling our history and telling it honestly. And that is something that I'm committed to moving forward to, and that is something that I think the city of Roswell can do a much better job. We can do a fabulous job with that, and we are starting that job. Another thing that I have worked with Pastor Strickland on is my racial equity task force, and that is another place where we have started. It's been, I would say, baby steps, but we're moving in the right direction. So I ask you to look forward to a lot more in the Groveway community, and I also ask you for your vote on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Henry. Jason Yowell.
My name is Jason Yowell. Is the mic working?
Yes, sir, you're on.
Okay. My name is Jason Yowell, and I'm a fairly long-term resident at this point. I built my house and moved here 25 years ago. I raised my 2 children here in Roswell, and I truly love this town. What I don't love is how it has been governed, and that's why I'm running. I have a lot of experience in my 40 years in the real estate development and construction business. I've built a lot of different things. I'd say I'm probably the only person running for office right now that can say he's actually built a church. But it's interesting that the mayor has mentioned Doc's Cafe. I noticed that when other projects in this town need to be done, they don't talk about moving the big mansions. They leave them where they are. Doc's Cafe didn't have to be moved. It just needed a better road design. And the fact that they didn't have a better road design and that they thought that nothing of uprooting Doc's Cafe, it's disrespectful. Plain and simple. The mayor pays a lot of lip service to things like this, but in action, not so much. Doc's Cafe didn't need to be moved. This Oxbow project didn't need to be as big and disastrous as it was. They've spent more money buying land than they originally had budgeted for the whole project. My mind is just boggled at the process. It's so unnecessary, and it's shameful. We can do better. There are other projects that our transportation department has on the books that are going to destroy people's businesses, that are going to flush more traffic into this town for the benefit of outlying communities. These projects don't have to be designed the way they are. We can have a lot more sensitivity in the way we approach things. But you need a mayor who can look at a set of building plans or engineering construction plans or even a legal contract and understand what they're looking at. Our mayor doesn't have those skill sets. she allows staff to tell her what to do and how things will be, and that it will be okay, and that's not acceptable. We need a mayor who knows how to do things and get things done. Thank you.
Mr. Yowell, thank you so very much. Now we're here from Kurt Wilson. Thank you.
Pastor Strickland, thank you to you and the Pleasant Hill community for having us tonight. It's a great honor to be here. And being in this wonderful facility reminds me of my first experience. When I grew up as a kid, we traveled a lot, we moved a lot, and my mom and daddy didn't church us. And it was interesting, there wasn't so little called Fort family, the only black family in the neighborhood. And the first people to ever take me to church, my sister Katrina and I, was to this little black community church. And understanding that how important community is, particularly in the black community and black churches, that my exposure in life has given me a lot of opportunity to understand that one of the things that I'm not a gigantic fan of, and that happens too much in too many suburban areas across the United States, is a fancy term called gentrification. And what I want you to know, as my fellow Roswell citizens here in your community, is that I'm committed to, as Roswell continues to become a more and more vibrant economic community, that I'm not interested in gentrifying Roswell. I'm interested in what is your long-term stake economically for this city, and that everybody is a stakeholder in this city, and that we're going to raise the values of property long-term, mid-term, short-term, and long-term for all stakeholders, and that we're going to protect our long-term residents as well as our newer residents. I'm a newer resident. I've been in Roswell 23 years. That makes me a newer resident, like a lot of folks. And I'm interested in protecting the stake that I have and that my fellow citizens have. But I'm also interested in protecting the stake that citizens have been here generationally. And I think that's something that, as the leader of the city, as the mayor of the city, I will be incredibly keenly aware of, and nobody will be forgotten as we continue to progress towards certain strategic goals for this city. I want to share with you a couple of those strategic goals and how I think they'll benefit all citizens. Because I think the first thing we're going to adopt when I become mayor is we're going to adopt the Roswell River Master Project. And what that does is it will improve the quality of life for all of our citizens. It will make a difference in terms that it will help to bring more commercial sales tax revenue into our city, which helps to reduce potential tax burdens to all of us as property tax owners. There are so many things that we're going to get done in this city. I think that the positivity and atmosphere and brotherhood that will happen in Roswell will be incredible. My name's Kurt Wilson, and I ask for your support in this election. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so very much. Now, right before we move to the council side of things, there is one question that has just come up that I want to share with and give an opportunity for each of our mayoral candidates, if will, and of course our mayor to answer. So this question comes from within the community here, and it's just simply this. It's a question around housing and that kind of thing, but it says, there seems to be a condemnation associated with apartment complexes, lower income communities, and the citizens of Roswell who reside in them. What is your plan of action to address this issue and to preserve affordable housing in Roswell? We'll begin with our mayor.
Thank you, and that's an excellent question because that's, frankly, a hard nut to crack. We are trying to preserve affordable housing in the city. On a good note and a bad note, we enjoy very high property values here in Roswell, which makes it more difficult to create affordable housing. However, I will also say that we do have affordable housing in the city of Roswell. My daughter has lived in affordable housing in the city of Roswell. I live in affordable housing in the city of Roswell. And what I would like to say is what we need to see is the safety issues and the quality of life issues. So there should not, affordable housing should not equate to crime. Affordable housing should not equate to a reduced quality of life. Affordable housing should be safe for all, and that should be in a community that we can raise our children in and be proud of our families and our children. And we need to work very hard at that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Mr. Yowell, would you like to chime in?
Yes, the city of Roswell has a housing authority, and from what I understand, that housing authority has been gutted in terms of resources, land that it owns, money that it had available, and I've heard that there's talk among people who support the mayor to get rid of the housing authority. That's a big mistake. There's a big difference between those who don't want any additional apartments and those who want to preserve the affordable housing that exists. And preserving affordable housing is a challenge. It's not easy. The pressures on real estate values make it an uphill battle. There are those who think it's a good idea to get rid of all the apartments that are clustered around 400 and Holcomb Bridge Road. But those apartments are the closest thing we have to non-subsidized affordable housing in this city. They need to be maintained. There needs to be better policing in those areas because people need to feel safe regardless of whether they're rich or poor. And that doesn't seem to be the case in this city. It's a tale of two cities, and that has to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kurt.
Pastor Strickland, how long do we have on the answers on these questions?
2 minutes, please.
2 minutes, all right. Because this one has so many pieces
yes, it
to
does.
it. It's amazing. So first thing, let's start. Roswell, among our sister cities to the north, we're the only city that has a housing authority. But what's amazing about that is if we didn't have this incredible person named Karen Parrish running the current Roswell Housing Authority, that housing authority would be decertified. Decertified. And so we have lacked the leadership and courage to fully support and put the money to support the Roswell Housing Authority. And I will tell you, as mayor, it will be unquestionable, number one, how we support the Housing Authority, period, in this city. End of story. I'm not going to put the Housing Authority in crisis mode like it is currently and has been for the last 4 years. That's got to stop. That puts people who are in the Housing Authority in danger of losing their houses. It also makes it more difficult for us to expand list to bring people who are generational people who've lived in Roswell in the past and want to come back to Roswell because Roswell is their home. That happens through the Housing Authority. That is something that we need to be very focused on from this point forward as a city. I'm committed to making that happen. The second thing is you also have to have structures of economic viability throughout your city and a plan to be economically viable. The third part of that is you need to understand what your end game is. And the end game for Roswell, for me, is to be 110 to 120,000 people 20 years from now, not 200,000 people. Because if we're 200,000 people, there is a degradation of a quality of life to all people. So I want to ensure that we ensure to maintain, not only maintain, but improve the quality of life for all of the residents of Roswell.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our mayor and our mayoral candidates. And I want to move to please don't go nowhere. We got a couple other questions for you all, but I want to move to the council side of things. And we'll start here at post 4 with Mary Willsey, our incumbent, and Peter Vanstrom, who is running against Marie. And so we want to hear from them, let them introduce themselves to us and their platform, and we turn it over to them now. Marie.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us virtually. I'd also like to thank Pastor Strickland and the Pleasant Hill Church team for running the AV and running the show tonight. We greatly appreciate you having us here and giving us an opportunity to connect with your community. As a city council member over the last 4 years, I've had just an incredible opportunity to work with many of the residents and folks in this community on several different issues regarding transportation, parks, street naming, public safety, and transportation. And just to tell you a little, and I've really enjoyed getting to know your experience and what the things that you love most about the city. We all love the natural environment, the sense of the community, our sense of history. Those are all things that I think unite us and bring us together. To tell you a little bit about myself, my husband and I moved here almost 30 years ago, and we raised our family here. We have we raised our one son here, and another son came back here to start a small business. During that time, I became very committed and interested in giving back to the community for all the things that we had enjoyed. I served on the HOA board and was involved in the Roswell Arts Fund, and then became involved with the city on planning commission, and again, learning more about the city, and had this great opportunity to serve on council. And I appreciate the trust that you've given me over the past 4 years. Looking ahead, I want to continue serving this community and making sure that you are included in all the discussions involving you. There are a lot of important discussions going on, and I just want to make sure that you all have a seat at the table, and that your voice is heard in everything that we do. Some exciting things that we have going on is there's a historic resource study that's going on with the state of Georgia right now, and we are looking at properties within the Groveway community, and identifying those resources that are historic and should be preserved. So look forward to sharing that information with you. Again, I'm just very committed to working with you on the issues and the problems that you face day to day, making sure that you're included at the table, and that we hear your voices, and that you place your trust in me going forward. And just appreciate you trusting in me for the next 4 years and voting for Marie Willsey. I will continue working for you and for Roswell. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you, Marie. Peter, it is in your hands.
Yes, thank you, Reverend, for having us. This is a wonderful facility. It's great for you to take the time that you've taken to put this together so well, so thank you so much. I am Peter Vanstrom, and I am running for Roswell City Council Post 4. I've lived in Roswell now for 30 years almost. I've raised 2 children here who went through the school systems, and I'll share with you that we moved here from East Cobb for one reason alone, and one reason was that Roswell offered a much more cultural diversity in the city. And we felt that was very important for our kids to be raised in a city that more reflected the percentage of race in the entire United States. And we're happy we did that. We raised 2 wonderful children who are very successful in their business careers. I've served on the Homeowners Association Board. I've served on the 2040 Comprehensive Plan, the City Planning Commission, and I was chairman of a revitalization project in my business district. And all of those activities led me to a desire to run for Roswell City Council because I believe we can do better. This is going to be a historical election, in my opinion, because you're going to choose from 2 different paths. One path is the status quo. That status quo is a vote for my opponent. Status quo is the same thing with the same results, like Oxbow. I am so sorry that your community has that mess sitting in their backyard. I can't imagine the frustration that you all are sharing. The second path is a new vision for our city of creative initiative, of listening to the residents first and being your voice on Roswell City Council. Our neighborhoods in Roswell are our gems. I know you're proud of yours in the Groveway area. And part of our new vision is going to be not only to protect, but to respect your neighborhood. The Groveway area is one of the most culturally and historically rich neighborhoods in all of Roswell. It dates back to the closure of the Civil War. 2 historical churches, a walkable connectivity to your parks, Doc's Cafe, Groveway Community Center, and the Children's Activity Center, Children's Academy. What a wonderful place. Yet, like most neighborhoods, you have your struggles too. The question came up of affordable housing. One of the terrible things that are happening in your residences is the high-density, high-cost apartments that are being put in, the multifamily condominiums and apartments that are unaffordable for the area, people in this area, and that is a concern. You also have a park, a wonderful park, Waller Park, and there's talk that that was at one time being targeted to become apartments itself. You don't need no new apartments there. You need a new full-court basketball court and a new tennis court. And you also don't need to have budget cuts on the Parks and Rec budget of $300,000 that my opponent voted for, because you need repairs and upkeep at your parks. Now, I wish you were all here live. I want to hear from the residents. If you vote for me, the big question is, how can I help you? How can I make this better for you?
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. So I heard both you, Marie, and Mr. Vanstrom, I heard you both mention about involving the community, that kind of thing, involving the community. So if you were elected, and Marie, as you would answer this, if you were to be reelected, maintain the seat here, what would you do, and how would you go about including community involvement in long-range planning? How would you go about involving community in long-range planning? Marie, if you will answer, and then Peter will give you a chance.
Thank you, and that's a great question. A couple of things that I would do is, first of all, is to continue the Racial Equity Action Committee that I know that you have been serving on, and expand that, and take the recommendations that are coming out of that committee and make sure that they are implemented. And perhaps we have a council coming from an advisory council that's expanded from the community, and that we can reach out to for your voice and input on key decisions that are coming up. Another thing I would like to do, would like to update the UDC, which is changing the character of the downtown and has been a very divisive document throughout the city. But I think particularly there are some things that we can bring in from the Groveway Overlay District that was created back in the about 10 years ago that were not brought into the UDC. And some of those things were worked on by this community and took their voices into consideration, and were designed to help protect and preserve the diversity and the rich culture that is here. So I would like to see us revisit some of the aspects of that Groveway community district. And again, the third thing is the historical assets study that we are expecting to see, that we are currently working on with the state of Georgia. I think those are some things that, again, we'd like to share with you, get your input on, and find some of the cultural areas and historical properties that are well worth preserving for our city, and preserving this wonderful and richly diverse community within Roswell. So, and I would also just hope that you felt like that we are always an open conduit and representative for you. And that we are always looking to you for ideas and encouraging you to get involved and to be an active part of the Roswell community.
Thank you so very much. Peter, same question. What would you do to involve the community in a long-range planning?
Well, thank you for that question. I think it's obvious one of the problems in our town is that at times we forget to include the residents in conversations when we talk about developments and activities in their own community. I think Big Creek Park Tennis Center is a good example of that. We had a lot of things going on behind the scenes, non-transparency with some of the people at City Hall, at City Council, and the residents got upset, and realistically so, and rightfully so. We have to involve the Roswell residents in any conversation that has to do with any kind of community growth and development, and I will do that consistently. We also need to revamp City Hall. City Hall right now is not structured well for business development and business recruitment. And I have some wonderful and exciting ideas that I will bring to the table when I'm elected for that. So if we include a restructured City Hall and we include the residents in the conversation from the very beginning, we can move forward on a lot of projects in this town.
Wow, thank you. All right. That was, of course, Marie Willsey, incumbent. Peter Vanstrom from Post 4. Okay? Now we're going to move on, if will, to Post 5. We have in that post, of course, y'all know that that post was left vacant, if will, by Matt Tizer. So running for that post is Michael Del Cerro, Yalonda Freeman, and Will Morthland. I'm going to give them an opportunity, if will, to introduce themselves, their platform, if will, to us. So we'll begin with Michael.
Thank you, Dr. Strickland, and thank you for the people at Pleasant Hill. I've been looking forward to coming here this evening. I grew up here in Roswell, and I'll tell you a little bit more about my story in just a second. But I want to share about why I am running. I have a love for Roswell. Roswell is a great place, and I'm looking to make it even greater. And one of my 4 focus areas starts off about keeping our city safe. Supporting our police department, very important to me. I had opportunity last year also to attend a solidarity event. And Dr. Strickland was there, Chief Conroy, Mayor Henry. Our family attended that because we felt strongly about that all men are created equal. And this whole 21st century roadmap for the police department we support. Keep traffic moving. That's the second part of my focus area. We see the corridors and areas. There's a plan in place to reduce the gridlock and to open up the corridors. Keeping our parks beautiful. That's the third focus area. It's interesting. I used to play basketball at Waller Park. And I'll tell you a story in a second about how things went full circle at Waller Park just recently for me. And the fourth focus will be keeping growth sensible for Roswell. We do have a small town. It's all perspective. I still feel like it's a small town. And I want to go ahead and also have a perspective with all men created equal to have opportunities available here for everyone. So let me talk a little bit about, first of all, who I am. These are 3 points in terms of why I am uniquely qualified for post number 5. Having grown up here, I graduated from Roswell High School, was in a marching band, took forward my education at Georgia State University, which is one of the top, most ethnic, diverse universities in the country. I paid my own way through school, waiting on tables. The first to graduate with a bachelor's degree in my family. I'm a first-generation American, and I worked for it. 15 seconds. Well, I tell you what, let me finish up with this. I volunteer and give back to Roswell. I've been here doing this for the last couple of decades, and I regularly stream to city council meetings, and it's my desire to continue giving back, and it would be a privilege to be a member of city council.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate that. So we've heard from Michael. Now let's hear from Yalonda, please. So Yalonda Freeman.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yolanda Freeman, running for City Council Post 5. I'm running for Roswell City Council Post 5 because I want to build a bridge between Roswell's homeowners and renters so we can build a better Roswell for all of our children. When I'm elected, I would be the only city council person renting. As a renter, an African American and single mother, I'm very concerned by the rhetoric around apartments. As a renter, it makes me and those that I talk to within my neighborhood feel like a second-class citizen and not wanted. If homeowners come first, where does that leave renters? It leaves us looking for a more welcoming and diverse community to meet and invest and become homeowners. I love Roswell, and I'm dedicated to raising my family here. If no new apartments and no solutions for bringing affordable housing to Roswell, where do our school workers, hospital workers, police, and other essential workers invest their income? If renters and affordable housing is neglected, then Roswell will suffer an image problem. The image of Roswell will be the city committed to preserving wealthy people, too quick to using old new ways to shut out the voices and economic opportunity for Black and brown Americans. Because where do many Black and brown people live in Roswell? Apartments. I'm dedicated. When I'm elected, I would like to promote unity and diversity. I want to work with homeowner associations. I also want to form a new Renters for Roswell organization to help to hear concerns about projects that impact apartments and renters too. We can rebuild the empty buildings where I live. I live right next to the empty buildings by Target in East Roswell. We can turn that, make it look like Canton Street. I have so many visions and ideals to help Roswell because I want everyone to be successful, no matter what situation you are in. I applied for public housing. I moved here 4 years ago to raise my family. They told me it would be a 4-year wait. And I've done everything. I volunteer. I'm a PTSA president, co-president. I work at the schools, volunteer every day. I'm a lunch lady. I serve lunches to all the children. I'm at a different school every day, serving to our kids and talking to families, trying to empower them, while trying to encourage and empower myself as well. We can work together. We need to build a bridge for Roswell. And that's why I'm dedicated to serving the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Freeman. We're now here from Morthland.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for having us tonight. I'm Will Morthland, and I'm running for City Council Post 5. I've always had a passion for civic duty. I made the decision to run because I want to be the voice for Roswell residents and what is important to moving Roswell forward. I have the financial experience as a state bank examiner and auditor, which will benefit the council, as well as the Roswell residents to whom we are accountable. My experience will help ensure our city projects are on budget, stay within scope, and completed on time. I have also volunteered for many years of coaching my children's athletic teams through the Roswell Rec, as well as serving in leadership positions through my son's Cub Scout unit. I'm a proud Eagle Scout and will nurture my son's ambitions of reaching this goal as he completes the scouting journey. I learned through this participation the benefits of community engagement. After speaking with many residents, I want to be sure this council represents and makes decisions that reflect the interest of their voice. I'll only support responsible development, limiting new high-density projects, which affects our already congested streets. Let's make use of the resources we already have by finding ways to make existing high-density complexes more accessible and more livable versus building new ones. Let's find the right mix of commercial and residential developments. I will lobby and deliver greater investments in our Parks and Recreation Department. Our parks are world-class and the envy of most cities in the metro Atlanta area, but we need to invest, maintain, and upgrade the parks and their facilities. I'll support our first responders and other public service officers through acknowledging and prioritizing their value by increasing their compensation. I'll focus on restoring transparency, civility, and accountability within the council. For us to be successful, we have to work together. I'm running because I want to help our community. I have no other hidden agenda. I promise to represent the interest of Roswell's greatest asset, its people. Inclusivity and diversity is everyone here. We all have different views and beliefs, but we all want what's best for Roswell. We may not agree on how to get that done, but we can put our differences aside and represent what's best for our neighbors, our friends, and our fellow residents and taxpayers. Being born in the historic city of Selma, Alabama, I have a passion to see the historic areas of Roswell and its historic neighborhoods being protected. I've been told that the Selma has the 4th largest historic district in size of all the United States of America. I'd like to further the work of the Roswell to honor our past while having an eye to the future for our children to understand the significance this plays in our community. This can be accomplished through many routes, but most importantly through community input of the historic neighborhoods we all hold so dear. I will advocate for this on a daily basis by serving the community's needs through my service to the Roswell City Council. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. So we've heard here in Post 5 from, again, Michael Del Cerro, Yalonda Freeman, Will Morthland, and we've heard you talk about, in some form or in some way or another, you talked about community engagement, right? So the same question that was posed to those who are running for Post 4, and we want to raise that question here for those of you here in Post 5. Man, if you're elected, how would you go about including the community in long-term planning? How are you going to involve? How are you going to engage, if will? the community? And you can start. Yeah, Will. We'll start, and then we'll work our way back. Will, then Yolanda, then Michael. Thank you.
Big thing that I'd be interested in seeing is community engagement. Mm-hmm. Community engagement is the cornerstone to finding solutions to problems when presented. There's no better way than to get the input of the community that is affected through whatever the question may be to get the best answer and the best outcome. It's one thing for city council to come up with a plan for a community and not ask for their input. I'd like to see committees. Sometimes there are committees, sometimes there need to be committees. But these are the leaders of the community that come together and formulate the best options, the best ideas for their long-term benefit. I would leverage their input.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yalonda.
Yes, I would like to promote community engagement by reaching out through either SurveyMonkey or inviting people to come out and just see if they would like to participate in the different cultural festivals. We need more for Juneteenth, for Voting Rights Day. We have a lot of other cultures that would love to have parades or have different programs that would inform everyone about what's going on. I also would like to have just have something for the youth leadership, have the high schools, have programs, small business entrepreneurs. Let's have a business competition with our youth. Just empower them and let them do things in the community. Let them take lead on most of the programs that we have going on. We can have a high school representative, ambassador come to each city council meeting and report what's going on in their school, ask for what they need help with to do other programs at their school, and we can support our youth. I just want to engage everyone, no matter what their background is, to uplift them, to just empower this community. Also, I would like to make sure that everyone, specifically the city council and staff, takes a poverty simulation course. I know that's very important, to just put yourself in someone else's shoes for a day. That would just be awesome to just be a starter, kickoff for community engagement.
Thank you so much. Michael.
So, in my perspective with Roswell, it comes from a perspective of, it takes a village, that the involvement needs to come from all of us. And that we all have a role to play. And the approach that I envision, I think it's, for example, it's embodied with Roswell Day of Hope. I was out there with my ball cap, folding up tables, putting down tents, and loading trucks. Helping the needy, feeding the hungry, and clothing the naked. And engagement in Roswell, this is our hometown. And it starts with all of us from within. And we need to engage in a city from a civic perspective, if you're on council, or if you work on Hill Street from City Hall. If you're involved as a member of the community, we need to engage civic organizations, our churches, mosques, synagogues. It all starts with the whole community. We're one Roswell. And I really believe that when we get together, it has to be a part of our priorities as ourselves. It's not just a one-time activity or an event. It's a process. It's a journey. And hold our hands together to get there. I shared earlier, but I ran out of time, about playing ball at Waller Park. Well, I just will share real quick. I was there picking up trash with the marching band as a giving back a day of service to our beautiful city. So I will end with this, is that this is a process and journey. I will work with leaders across the community to identify the tools and resources for a strategic plan to move forward that we will all embrace. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you to all you candidates who are there running for Post 5, Michael Del Cerro, Yolanda Freeman, Will Morthland. Thank you both. Thank you all so much. We'll now move to Post 6. Thank you for your patience there. Post 6, we have Matt Judy, incumbent, who and Lee Hills, who will be running against him, his opponent. And so we want to hear from them. We'll begin with Matt and then Lee Hills, we will move to you. Is that all right? Wonderful. Matt? Let me make sure they got you on. No, you're not on. Hold on. I'll get you good. There we go. We're going to go from red to... I got you. I'll get you one. I'll get you one here. All right.
I was hoping you'll work.
Yep.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Y'all got us on here? All right. I'm going to have to let you use one that they got there.
All right.
Testing 1, 2. There it is. Testing 1, 2.
Thank you, Dr. Strickland.
Yeah.
Hope y'all didn't do that on purpose.
No, we didn't.
Thank you so much, Dr. Strickland, Pleasant Hill Church, and the Groveway community for having us here tonight for this meet and greet. What an honor. It's been an honor to serve the city of Roswell for the last 4 years, and I look forward to doing it the next 4. Y'all got me on the Waller Park stories. I, too, played basketball at Waller Park, and this neighborhood has a lot of great memories for me, a lot of great friends growing up, and to be on council this past year where we named the road after Dr. Frank Lewis, an icon in this community, was just an honor. I played basketball with his son, Aubrey, growing up. I'm a Roswell native, attended Roswell North Elementary, at the time it was North Roswell, Crabapple Middle School, and Roswell High School. I then went to Georgia Tech for undergrad, studied business, and then on to Mercer Law School in Macon, Georgia. From there, I moved to New York City for a few years and decided it was time to come home. Roswell is home. Roswell is the best place on the face of this earth. I truly believe that. I look to the past, the present, and the future every day when I wake up and figure, what am I going to do for this city? Looking to the past, shortly after we got elected, I helped champion the Historic District Master Plan. Our historic district is a district that is unlike any other, and it needed to be protected. We had a unanimous vote on a citizen committee to protect it, and then a unanimous vote by mayor and council to adopt the Historic District Master Plan. That was a big win for us. Now we're in the present. We just came through a terrible pandemic. We're not done yet, but we came through stronger than any of the communities around us. We lowered our millage rate to the lowest since 1988 and kept city services running. Trash, fire, police, all at an extraordinary level. That's pretty amazing. Let's move to the future. I think we need to redo our UDC. This is very important for this community. That's our Uniform Development Code. Starting in 2008, there was a Groveway master plan that I believe went through 2012. It had stakeholders all throughout the community on how we develop and make the Groveway community thrive. That was not brought into the 2014 UDC. When we redo the UDC, we throw that UDC out, we need to revisit that. My name is Matt Judy. I'm a native of Roswell. I love this community, and I humbly ask for your vote. Early voting starts tomorrow. November 2nd is Election Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Matt, now, Ms. Lee Hills, if we would hear from you, would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Strickland, and thank you to Pleasant Hill Baptist Church for hosting this event this evening. I've talked to many of you that call Roswell home. Your concerns are my concerns. Moving forward, it is vital that we are mindful about how we develop our commercial corridors and approach zoning to protect our neighborhoods. Regarding streets and commercial corridors, I'd like to talk with you about the tremendous opportunities we have to grow Roswell in many smart ways. While we rely on our commercial corridors to serve us today, and we appreciate the businesses we currently have, we must pivot to intentionally and proactively pursue businesses that provide jobs and destinations our residents and visitors desire. We spend too much time on the road going to neighboring cities while we have the opportunity to fulfill our needs and desires right here in Roswell. We should improve safety and traffic flow by leveraging solutions in traffic design and construction that serve Roswell residents first and builds community wealth. The streets in older areas such as the Groveway tend to be smaller, less maintained by the city, and take far too long to complete improvements. Perfect examples of this are the streets that surround this most historic church. Streets are just one way to build community wealth, or deny it. Roads that are built large and wide only serve Cobb County commuters. The time it takes to build and improve streets in the Groveway far surpass similar projects elsewhere in the city. This is unacceptable. Not only does it make everyday life difficult, it affects the financial security of Pleasant Hill Church and surrounding homes and businesses. Instead of creating cut-throughs in our historic neighborhoods, let's build streets that enhance a sense of community and wealth for homeowners and businesses. Examples of building roads that diminish our sense of community are the cut-throughs recently designed and dug into our historic Mill Village, Oxbow, and Groveway areas. It destroyed the perfect location for Doc's Cafe, right where it had always been. The road could have been designed with preservation of all historic assets and private homes, not just a few. Another example of building both community wealth and a sense of place using streets is Alpharetta Highway through downtown Alpharetta. The street is naturally traffic calming, provides sidewalks and crosswalks that safely move people from one side of the highway to another, and is aesthetically beautiful. It did not destroy historic assets, it showcases them. I believe we can do better. Paramount to me is the transparency and fiscal responsibilities a council member owes to each one of you. I do not take that lightly. Implementing critical oversight is imperative to prevent misuse of your hard-earned dollars. I intend to make sure this happens. We as council members are accountable to you and work for you. I will not forget that every dollar the city spends came right out of your pocket. No one else will work harder for you or be more focused on Hills, and I look forward to being your next city council person.
Thank you so very much. Well, Lee, a question has come across for us, and it simply goes like this. It says, we understand that businesses are an important part of any city infrastructure. Businesses are an important part of any city infrastructure. It said, would you support incentives for bringing black and minority businesses to Roswell, and how would you do so?
Well, I support bringing new businesses to Roswell, period, of all colors, not just some. I don't understand why Roswell has become an order taker. We should be aggressively pursuing, and I plan to do that, pursuing businesses to come here and create a clamor in bids to take over our spots that are vacant currently. There may be some that are failing now that we should have a queue line ready to go so that we can say, hey, we appreciate you having been here. We're going to hate to see you go. We've got 3 people right behind you that have businesses to start right here in Roswell. There's no excuse in not having a sensation, a thrust of businesses wanting to come here. As far as diversity goes, I feel like this city should be actively attracting all business owners and possibly encouraging folks that are budding business owners. So I will absolutely, I have a background in sales. I have no problem picking up the telephone or hopping in my car and visiting with folks to find out what they can bring to Roswell and selling Roswell on them. I think we've missed a lot of opportunity on promoting what we have here. I've volunteered for the last 4 years at Roswell High School, not this school year, but on preserving the history of Roswell High School. And in doing so, I've asked quite a few other peers if they've heard of the Groveway, and they have told me no. They don't even know what it is. I've asked them if they have even thought about going to a cooking demonstration or hear a reader during Roswell Roots, and I'm appalled that there are people right here that have never heard of it. I think we have a failed opportunity to be able to showcase those type of events and showcase the history of this great city in this great historic community and double or triple dip by hosting such events at our historic assets here. I will absolutely be the one that can bring that change to Roswell. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Well, Mr. Judy, I want to ask you the same question that was raised here about businesses. They are certainly an important to the infrastructure of any city. Would you support incentives for bringing black and minority businesses to Roswell? And if so, how? How would you go about doing that?
Yes, yes, and yes. Absolutely. The last 3.5, almost 4 years now, I have prided myself on attending every single ribbon cutting I can in this city, because I don't think we've missed opportunities. I think we are actually taking those opportunities and showcasing them every time a council person shows up, the mayor shows up, any official shows up to cut that ribbon and say, thank you for investing in our city. Thank you for investing not only your money, but your want, your need, your hopes, your dreams in this city. To your point, I think that the Racial Equity Committee is a good start. But I think there's a group of folks, a lot of those ribbons I've cut over the last couple of years have been minority-owned businesses. We need to create a group of folks, a task force that can go out and actually recruit those type of businesses, show them where the opportunity is in Roswell. A lot of people don't say, well, that's not going to work for me. I don't know where to go in Roswell. I don't know where to start. They call Roswell Inc. Roswell Inc. helps them as much as they can. But if we have a group of like-minded people that are able to say, hey, look, come here. We're going to help you. We're going to find you a spot to sow those hopes and dreams in the city of Roswell. That would be huge. And I would love to be a part of that moving forward, because the city of Roswell is growing diversity on a daily basis, and we need to embrace it. We also need to make sure everybody has the resources necessary to sow those hopes and dreams in this city.
Thank you so very much. We appreciate the questions that you all have answered thus far. Please don't go nowhere. There's at least one more question that we have for those who are running for council positions. But let's move back to the mayor's side of things. And I want to ask a question to all of you here, beginning with Kurt Wilson. You can start for us here answering this question. And it's simply this. We've talked about infrastructure to the city, and engagement, involvement, those kinds of things have been raised. What are your thoughts around police officers and firefighters and other city service workers that all protect and maintain the city, but they can't quite afford to live here?
Pastor Strickland, thank you for that question. So we have a very simple plan when it comes to the police force per se. Several things we want to do. One is we want to reclassify how they are classified as employees of the Citizen Roswell. Why? Because we want to reinstate the pensions that we took away 11 years ago from our city police officers. Why is that important? That's hugely important not only to retention but to recruitment. If you want to have best-in-class police officers, you also need to have best-in-class pay. One of the things that we historically have made a mistake in this city is we have raised our pay to meet the other sister cities' pay and police officers. Then the other sister cities raise our pay. So we've always kind of stayed statically behind. It's time that Roswell has, as a standard operating platform, that we pay our police officers best in class across all cities in the northern suburbs, period. The other thing is it's time for us to incentivize our police officers to live in this city. We have 3 or 4 police officers currently who live in the city of Roswell. We need our police officers to be our neighbors. That's important from a morale perspective and important from the standpoint of creating a greater sense of community. There's numerous other things to do along the policing standpoint to make sure that we make our police absolutely 100% commitment. I will say this. There's a narrative that's gone around, the last couple of years about defunding the police. I think in Roswell we need to say we fund the police, and we fund it with a zealous commitment that nobody has absolute clarity about what the support of the Roswell citizens are of the Roswell police force. There's a second part of that question, but Roswell police need to be absolutely committed to at the highest level. I think I'm out of time. Sorry.
All right. Thank you so very much. Jason.
I don't have a green light on my mic. Is it on?
Yes, you're on.
Woohoo! Yeah, it's a very difficult situation because property values are so high in Roswell, and even if you're paying, police best in class, they don't have to go too far to find the kind of housing that they're looking for. I understand that they've been offered free housing in certain apartment complexes, and they've turned it down because they'd rather pay to own their own home with a yard. I developed a large subdivision in Cherokee County, and one of the things that bothered me is there was a Roswell police officer living there. Why would that bother me? Because there was a Roswell City police car parked in the driveway all the time. Now, I understand it might make sense to let the police take the cars home. There's the sense of ownership. The cars will last longer. But if the car is leaving Roswell overnight, it kind of defeats a lot of the purpose of letting the police officer take the car home. This is a way of disincentivizing people from living in Roswell. If you tell a policeman, you get to take the car home, but you have to live here. That's incentivizing. But as you can see, it's a tough climb when you've got police officers that turn down free housing to live in neighboring communities. Certainly a good part of the solution is what Kurt was saying. We have to pay them best in class to give them the opportunity to make better choices.
Thank you so very much. Mayor Henry, again, we talk about police, officers, firefighters, other city service workers, all who protect and maintain the city but can't quite afford to live here. Thoughts around that, please?
Well, first I would like to say that it was mentioned by one of my opponents that he wants to reinstate a pension. I could have an argument with that because we have retirement benefits that serve our employees very well. And pensions are not something of the future, and we are compensating our employees through retirement benefits that are serving them extremely well. So that is a little bit of a misrepresentation. The other thing that I would like to mention is our police officers and our firefighters that have emergency vehicles, yes, we do allow them to take them home. And not only is it because of ownership, they'll care for the vehicles, but also it's because they need to respond quickly to emergencies. And stop and think about it just this simply. You have to leave your police car or your fire truck at a police station or the fire station. You drive your vehicle home. You have an emergency. You've got a fire. You've got an active shooter. And you've got to take your car back to the facility to pick up your police car or your fire car and respond to the crime or the fire, whatever the case may be. So it's all very, very logical. It's a benefit to our police officers and our firefighters. They very, very much appreciate the fact that they can take their vehicles home. If they didn't want to take them home, they wouldn't do it. They would leave them at the facility. So I think that that is very, very important to know that this has to do with response times, and this has to do with protecting our citizens.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so very much. Now, there's one other question that we want to ask. You guys, y'all have been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. But there's one other question that we have for everybody on the platform, and we'll start getting an answer to this question from Post 4 with Peter Vanstrom, and then we'll move, of course, to Marie Willsey. But every one of you, we want all of you to answer this particular question, all right? Here it is. People want someone that they can trust in office, that is truly looking out for the interest of all socioeconomic communities. Why should we trust you? Why should we put our trust in you? Thank
Thank you for that question, Reverend. I think part of serving the community is always the trust factor. I think that you have to put the residents first in all that you do. You have to be transparent, and you have to be real with those with the residents. I think apartments are a good example of that. If I could come back to that conversation for just a second.
Sure.
I think affordable apartments are an interesting conversation when it comes to trust. There's an economic reason in East Roswell we cannot have any more apartments, and that is because there's an imbalance. And my opponent still voted for apartments at Old Target, and that's not going to work. There's a very easy solution to apartment development in West Roswell, the West Roswell side of town, and that's where we simply can have more mixed use, where we actually have commercial and retail as a majority part of that development. And then if we get to the Groveway area and talk about that one more time, that's where we need to have apartments that are truly affordable for the people who live in that community. And I think if you look at the entire community, whenever you're making decisions for the community, you have to put the residents first, and you have to earn their trust by having the right approach for the community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Marie?
Yes, thank you, and I'm very glad that you asked that question. One of my favorite quotes is by the author and poet Maya Angelou, who said, "People forget what you said, people forget what you did, but people never forget how you made them feel." And I'd like to think that I'm the candidate who listens, who cares, and who makes every resident feel like their voice matters and that they are important and that they are important to the life of this community. I serve the community because I care. I'm not looking for another title or more letters to put after my name. My heart and my feet are in this community 7 days a week, every week. My roots are here, and I want to continue working for the very, very best of the Groveway community, the Pleasant Hill community, because I care about you. In my work, I've been doing some work with a woman who's written a book on finding love and worth. And the principle is that, it starts by loving and caring for yourself, and then learning how to extend that love to another, and then to a community of others. And that includes embracing others for their differences and what they contribute to the community. And it particularly comes into play when embracing diversity and inclusion, and basically just loving and appreciating what every single person brings to this community and trying to bring out the very best in each one, and making sure that the community truly reflects their hopes and dreams. Again, I believe that I am the candidate that you can trust because I care to listen, I care about your thoughts and your visions, and I want to always be here for you and help to make that a part of the Roswell we all love and the Roswell of our future. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, we've just heard from Peter Vanstrom and Marie Willsey Post 4. Marie being our incumbent. Now, let's move to Post 6. I know that we'll get to Post 5 there, but let's move to Post 6 here. And here, that same question, y'all. That same question is on the table. And let's hear from Miss Lee Hills, right? And Matt Judy. Miss Lee.
Thank you so much. I have served as a PTA president at the elementary school here in Mountain Park and PTSA president at Roswell High School, and you don't get much more on display than that in your own community. I have loved every minute of it, and I will tell you that I have fought for all sorts of different people and stood my ground, not changing what I stand for when doing so. At the elementary school, I had to fight for bringing not one, but two Holocaust survivors to the school. Our Jewish population there is not near what the rest of the populations are, and I was pleased to be able to do that 2 different years. I also lobbied for and was able to bring the Tuskegee Airmen from my hometown, well, next door to my hometown, Opelika, Alabama, from Tuskegee, and that was an act of God, and I was very grateful to be a part of that. I'm stamping my name all over that. When I got to the high school, I will tell you I've been involved in almost every single committee in that arena, and am pleased to tell you that a young lady, an unfortunate situation, a young lady was taken into custody 2 years ago in the ice, during an ice maneuver, I'll say, and I was fortunate enough to partner with a person who doesn't vote on a national level exactly like me, and we were able to make connections with political figures to get this young lady out. She graduated on high school, and I take great pride in that, taking care of our community and our treasure, our kids. In other arenas, I have definitely stood my ground and stood up for my neighbors, even though it may not be exactly my lane. I've been an advocate for people, and I continue. If I say what I'm going to do, I do what I'm going to say. I'm not going to tell you to trust me. I'm going to tell you you can. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lee. We appreciate that. Matt?
Hello. There we go. Worked this time. Thank you, Pastor Strickland. Whole time I've been sitting here, and because my eyes have gotten bad, that says live up there, but I thought it said love. And I've been thinking about that word the whole time I've been sitting here. In Roswell, we've seen, especially around election time, to have lost love, civility, dialogue, respect, and you're not going to see that from me. Growing up, there's a gentleman over here, a young kid. My dad and I used to come pick him up out of the Grove Way community. He'd never been to a Georgia Tech game or a college football game. And we used to go, and we took him down to the games. And he used to eat so much food at these games. We used to laugh. And he to this day, he still lives in Roswell. And he comes up and says, I remember those days. We used to go to the Georgia Tech games. And Roswell, we're all one. I didn't see us as different, me and him, as when we went to those games. We have to get back there as a city. And that's my passion. I don't want to be anything, another elected official anywhere else. I'm here in Roswell. This is where my political career stops, because I care about this community that much. So, to answer your question, respect, love, civility, dialogue, and do it through actions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, man. We have just heard from Lee Hills, Matt Judy, Post 6, Matt Judy being the incumbent. Thank y'all so very much. Now, we move to Post 5. We want to hear from from Michael Del Cerro and Yalonda Freeman, and, of course, Will Morthland. And we'll begin with Yalonda. If you will answer the question, of course, that's before us, simply this, and that is, of course, and people want someone that they can trust in office who is truly looking out for the interest of all, not just some, but all, over all socioeconomic communities. Class, why should people trust you?
Thanks for the question. You should put your trust in me, because I'm truly interested in improving and empowering all families here in Roswell, especially my heart goes out, and I'm just passionate about working with the underrepresented in our community. It's been 35 years since we've had a person of color on the council, and when elected, I want to make sure that never happens again. I think we all should be able to have a seat at the table. With unity and diversity, I just enjoy serving others. My prayer is that I can help touch many hearts to vote for me. My vision is to have unity and diversity in our community. The city council can be peaceful, thriving, and working for all people by building bridges. That's my plan, to help build bridges in Roswell, because I believe in Roswell. And I'll say it again, I believe in Roswell.
Thank you. Michael.
Thank you, Dr. Strickland. So, from my perspective, I only have one name, I got that from my father, from my grandparents, great-grandparents, and beyond. And the trust is paramount in terms of any sort of relationship, if it's through your family, community, church, in business and in the workplace, you name it. I will humbly share that trust is synonymous with my brand. I encourage you all to look me up. I engage through the city, and that's what makes me uniquely qualified, is I participate in the city. I get involved. I volunteer. I reach out to people. It doesn't matter in terms of where you have come from. I shared how I'm a first-generation American, and dad and aunt and grandparents came here from Italy, 1955. My grandfather had a fifth-grade education. So trying to pursue that American dream, we need to go ahead and pull together. I agree. It's dialogue and reaching out to others. And being a member of council, it's our civic duty to represent all of Roswell and to continually do outreach to one another and to preserve not only our name, but Roswell's name. I want to thank Pleasant Hill for inviting us this evening and Pastor Strickland. And after this evening, I will love to reach out and listen to you. Just go to michaeldforroswell.com. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. All right. Of course, we still need to hear from Will, and so we place it into your hands. Will.
This is a simple answer to a question, which should not take too long to answer, but you earn the respect. You earn the trust of a city. You lead by example. These are the things that you work through as adults when you have families, when you have children. You lead by the example that you set for them to follow. These are some of the things I'd like to do for Roswell as well, is I'd like to lead by example. I'd like to earn the trust of all socioeconomic backgrounds within the city of Roswell. This is something that I've charged myself to do when I threw my name in the hat for this position. I would like to represent everyone. I would like to have everybody's voice heard. I'd like to have everybody's feelings understood. As we as a city move forward, trust is paramount. I look forward to earning everybody's trust. That's how we're going to move forward as one.
Thank you so very much. And thank you to you all. Listen, tonight has been about not just information, but informing. It's been about not just kind of connecting virtually, but being able to connect with those who are looking on right where they are. And I think it's so very important for us as a community, as a city, to be informed, right, when we cast our vote. To be informed, to know who it is we are casting a vote for. To know what it is, for what it is, those who are currently serving in office and those who are running for office, what they stand for, what they stand on. I believe it makes all of the difference in the world when we know who it is, we are voting for. When we know who it is that's on the ballot, not just the name, but the person. That we've heard from them. And that's what tonight has been all about. So I appreciate, of course, those who are currently in office, our mayor, our council, current council, and, of course, all of those who are running. I appreciate your taking time out of your schedule to connect with us on tonight. Now, I'm going to give you an opportunity. Those who are on the platform, I'm going to give them an opportunity. 1 minute. We'll hold it. We'll hold them to it. But I want to give them 1 minute of closing thoughts. I want them to close for us tonight. That 1 minute of closing thoughts. And then, of course, I'll come back on and just close us out tonight. It's not going to take long, just 10 more minutes, if will. And these closing thoughts that I want them to share with us. And then I just want to appreciate just a couple of folks, Groveway Community Group, Gail Bohannon. If y'all don't know who that is, y'all need to get and become acquainted with the Groveway Community Group, Gail Bohannon, oldest civic organization, black civic organization in Roswell. And then I need to send out a very special thanks to Jeff Bell. Jeff, thank you. Next Door Roswell helped to put this together, getting the word out, that kind of thing. Thank you, Jeff Bell, for coming alongside and making sure this happened. And then, of course, all who have worked behind the scenes to make tonight happen. This was a quick turnaround, and a lot of things came together real quickly to make this happen. And so I just wanted to express my appreciation and thanks. So don't go nowhere. Last closing words that we have from our council, mayor, and then I will give a final word, and we're done. All right? Thank you so very much. Why don't we begin with you, Lori? How about that?
Thank you, Pastor Strickland.
Yeah.
And what I'd like to say is when you put your trust in an elected official, you're putting your trust in their integrity, their honesty, and their resolution in convictions. Yeah. So you always want a person that's very resolute in convictions, has a lot of integrity and honesty. And the reason why I say that is it's very easy to deliver, or no, I should say it's very easy to promise during a campaign to deliver. And one of the things I would like to say is that I am the only candidate in my race that has a record of service in the city of Roswell. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I almost left y'all out of that. I'm sorry. No, I can't leave y'all out of the trust question. I'm so sorry. So thank you so much for that. All right. So Jason, certainly that's a question that we want to pose to you. I'm so sorry. I don't want you to not have an opportunity to answer that particular question. People want someone that they can trust in office that's truly looking out for the interests of all socioeconomic communities. Why should we trust you?
Well, the first element of trust is you don't have a record of dissembling as our current mayor does. She's been lying for 4 years, and it's really despicable. You want somebody who's direct, who won't pander, who won't lie, who won't tell you what you want to hear. If you want somebody like that, that's me. I'm as direct as they come. And I've tried to operate my entire life with a level of integrity that I believe is impeccable. I can't say the same for our mayor. What's gone on in the last 4 years is just absolutely mind-boggling. The laws that have been broken on her watch by city officials, the abuse of power that she has engaged in against critics is just dumbfounding. It's why I refer to her as the tyrant. She's done a horrible job. She's shown absolutely no leadership. She's deferred every decision and every momentous action to staff. Oh, she doesn't know. She doesn't know any of this. Yeah, she talks about, I'm the only one who served Roswell. Well, guess what? You've pretended to serve. You haven't really served us. Not when you mute the citizens, not when you mute the other council people. It's not acceptable. The mayor needs to lose the mute button. As mayor, I won't use it, and at open forum, I'll let people actually rebut what mayor and council
Thank you so
say
very
after
much.
they speak.
Thank you so much. Kurt?
Pastor Strickland, this is probably the best question that the 10 of us will be asked through any forum or debate, and it's probably a question whoever is next mayor and city council should ask at the beginning of every meeting, because it's a reminder of why you get into public service. It's a reminder of your responsibility in public service. It's a reminder of your accountability to public service. And hopefully your question opens up the heart a little bit to every person that you're asking it to. Because at the end of the day, the question really is, for most of us, all of us in our lives, every single one of us has times where we have leverage over other human beings, where we have things where we have more information, more power, whether, and any times in life. And the question is, and when we're in those places in life, what do we do when we have more leverage, more power? It's really that's the essence of the question. And the essence of the question is, are you a person that does the right thing not only when people are looking, but are you a person that does the right thing when nobody's looking? And that ultimately is the question that you, as a voter, are making a decision about each one of us. And it's very hard to make that decision in 7-10 minutes, but each one of us come to conclusions as human beings dealing with one another. Do I believe that other person will do the right thing when nobody's looking? Do I believe that person will tell me the truth even if they don't think it's going to get them anywhere? And I will tell you that one of the reasons I decided to run for this office, being almost 60 years of age and having an incredible life with 4 incredible daughters, great health, great wife, wonderful businesses, and lots of people around me in my life, was that it was time that Roswell needed to be reconciled to where she has been in the past and to where she is going in the future, and that we needed great healing in our city, particularly in City Hall. And I am asking you to trust me with that. I am asking you to give me your sacred trust and vote for me. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you all so very much. I knew that I was going to give you a closing remark, but I had my time stuff all messed up. But thank you all for answering that. Thank you for keeping me straight there. So here's what we're going to do. Again, we appreciate you all tonight for taking them out of your schedule. Pastor Strickland, the pastor, and just a citizen of Roswell, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come and to share with us in forums like these. During this pandemic, I wish we could gather together and folks were here in the building to see you face to face, that kind of thing. But I'm so glad that you saw fit and that you thought enough to really take time to at least connect with us on this and through this forum, really. And to those of you who have been connecting with us throughout the night, man, I appreciate that so very much. Now, you can share word with others that this will be posted on our YouTube and Facebook page, right? Facebook, YouTube, you can go back. If you didn't catch something tonight, you can go back and watch this at any time, right? Go back, watch it at any time. Pause, rewind, hear it again and again and again and again. And one of the things that I ask all of the candidates and current officers here in Roswell is that if there were questions that were submitted that we could not get to, and time, of course, would not permit us to get to all the questions, but I did ask them if there are questions that have been submitted that we could not get to, could I forward those questions to them, and that they could answer them in their own way on their own maybe Facebook page, whatever the case may be, and they were all for it. So listen, if you have questions that you've submitted, you've kind of written down, but you've yet to submit it, please do that. Submit them in the chat area. We will extract them, and I'll make sure that they get to these candidates and they can answer them in their own way. I appreciate you all on tonight. Thank you so much for being a part of what I would say a wonderful, wonderful event. Getting to know, if will, your candidates here in 2021, making sure that you're informed so that when you cast your vote, right, on November the 2nd, when you cast that vote, you're going to cast an informed vote. Don't forget, early voting starts on tomorrow. Get out to those polls. Exercise your right to vote. God bless you. Thank you so very much. Have a blessed rest of your week. Thank you for joining us on tonight.